Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Friday. This is Seattle Now. This week, the pilot program to make Pike Place car-free is extending into next year, which makes us wonder, at what point does a pilot program become more than just a pilot? A new study from Microsoft says AI will change how we do our jobs, unless, of course, you went to trade school. And we had an election this week, but about 65% of King County voters were apparently busy doing something else. Stranger News editor Vivian McCall and Your Last Meal host Rachel Belle are here to break down the week. But first, let's get you caught up. Washington State is starting to crack down on landlords who raise rents too steeply. Under a new state law that took effect in May, rent can only increase by a maximum of 10% for most people. Attorney General Nick Brown is enforcing the law on 8 landlords with properties in Issaquah, Bothell, Edmonds, and several other cities. Brown says about 250 residents who were charged too much under the new law will get refunds from their property owners. Workers in Tacoma could be getting a raise in the future. The Tacoma City Council will vote on a plan today to raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. The Tacoma News Tribune reports the council is expected to send the measure to voters, though the council does have the option to approve the plan on its own. Backers of the so-called Workers' Bill of Rights turned in signatures in June to get the measure on the ballot. And it's going to be a sunny weekend. You can check out Washington State parks for free. Apparently, August 9th is Smokey Bear's birthday. That means you don't need a Discover Pass to park at any state park in Washington. If you can't make it out this weekend, the next free entrance day is September 27th. Check back for more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. It's Friday again. Hope you voted this week. Vivian McCall is here. She's the news editor at The Stranger. Welcome back, Vivian.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, congratulations on the promotion.
Thank you.
Rachel Belle is here, too. She's the host of the Your Last Meal podcast and the Nosh on Cascade PBS. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, girl.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, too.
All right. Welcome in. You two, before we dive in, did you smell the petrichor this week? It was rainy and windy for a couple days around here. That's good because it's dry in the state. Light rail passengers who were sent out into the rain to take a shuttle after the technical issues at Beacon Hill Station didn't appreciate it too much. But did you love a summer rainstorm?
I love a summer rainstorm. Yeah. I grew up mostly in the South, which is violent summer rainstorms all the time. And it's lovely. I will say that it has been a rather cold summer. And I know that it's good that we get rain, but I do like to have the sun when I get it because we so rarely do in this state. But it's pretty nice.
What about you, Rachel? You like a summer rainstorm, or is it a harbinger of what's to come?
Only because it's in the middle of the week, it's allowed, and only because there's one or two of them, it is allowed. But otherwise, same. Like, it's summer, we get a very short window. Yeah. I want all the sun I can get. But it does relieve me of my sun guilt, where I feel like I have to be outside constantly because it's so precious. So this allows me to lay on the couch or clean my house or watch a movie, which I haven't done all summer.
I am so glad you brought that up because sun guilt really is a thing. There's a lot of pressure when the sun is out to be doing things.
Yes.
And the rain kind of alleviates that. And like you said, it's okay that it's midweek because it didn't take out our precious weekend. The summer rain will be out of here as quickly as it came. The National Weather Service forecast for this weekend is mostly sunny and back up around 80 degrees.
Woohoo!
Moving on to the big story of the week. This just in from car-free Pike Place Market. A pilot program restricting most vehicles from First Avenue and Pike Street has now been extended at least until next spring. The program started in late April and has been extended twice. I'm starting to wonder if the pilot program has just turned into a soft launch at this point.
Yeah, pilot program's a bit of a funny term, isn't it? Just generally speaking.
Yeah. It does feel like things are just progressing to the place that they originally were intended. The idea, of course, is aimed at improving accessibility for the market's 500 small businesses, 450 residents, and 5 social service offices. Busy place at the market. The vibe is definitely different with no cars. Rachel, have you been down there?
Yeah, and honestly, this doesn't feel like my business. It sounds kind of
Say
weird,
more about that.
But because I don't go to Pike Place Market that much, and I feel like the people who work and live there should have the strongest opinions. Every time I have walked through and there are cars, I've never felt like I was going to get hit because there's so many people walking that they can't drive very fast. So if it's a safety issue...
People find a way to drive fast. I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah.
I have not. But yeah, it seems like it's divisive between the people who live and work down there because, yeah, I don't know how, like if someone just wants to drive up to their place to put stuff in their car and they can't do that anymore. But it is a very urban area, so I think you might have to be used to those kind of schleps. I don't know. What do you think?
It has never been a very pleasant road to drive on and never a pleasant road to walk on and drive on. And I think it seems to be working for people generally. It seems that sales are up. It seems that foot traffic is up, but a lot of it also seems to be based on anecdotal data. And I would figure if you were doing a pilot program that perhaps a study or a survey would be in order, but that has not been done. They're just relying on anecdotal information. And the Seattle Times going down there every once in a while and being like, do you like this? Which doesn't seem like enough. And maybe, perhaps, get a survey monkey going, send a few emails. I don't understand why that hasn't been done.
It does seem like anecdata at this point, a lot of soft information coming out of the market. One of the loudest voices is the guy at Socios who says he's pulling out.
Him.
Beautiful stand, right?
It's the best place to get vegetables.
It is one of the most visible.
Yeah, and I agree with you because I don't think that all of that increased business might be from the cars not being there because the waterfront opened around the same time, and that is bringing so many people to the market because they can walk up from the waterfront to Pike Place Market. So you can't take these two big changes and say they all have to do with the cars. You have to isolate those two incidents.
Well, you know what would help? A survey, but also leading to my next question, was it smart to start this in the spring? Because you're definitely going to get a lot of bang for your buck if you're in favor of a car-free market.
It's probably the best time to stress test it and really see the effect because, plenty of people go down there in the winter time, but certainly not nearly as much.
So it is worth noting that emergency vehicles and vendor deliveries and disabled permits can still drive through. The city has stationed people to manage access, but beyond those people, who the heck even drives in the market anyway? I would never drive in Pike Place Market.
I have. I've gone down there looking for a parking spot. Yes, I've gotten parking spots in there before.
Oh my gosh, man.
I haven't done that for a while, but I used to do it all the time because I used to do improv down at the theater there, and I was like, I'm gonna look. And sometimes it's worth it.
I have a secret spot down there that I'll tell you after. I won't gatekeep.
Okay.
But I do have a secret location that I park when I go to the market. But it always, when I'm down there, it strikes me as so strange when a car is coming down the street. And I always kind of picture it as like a tourist who kind of got sidetracked.
I think it's a lot of people who don't have any idea what the street is until they have turned the corner and they realize that
it's cobblestones.
It's cobblestones and bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you put something in your phone and you map it, it might be taking you right down that street.
Exactly.
If you're not familiar with where you're going.
Totally. And as expected, not everybody's loving this idea, but some are. As you mentioned, Vivian, Seattle Times was out talking to people who live at and around the market and business owners. And some say it's great for pedestrians and makes the space more vibrant. One person told the Times, this is a quote, "I'd say 99% of the people come here and don't even see a difference or have a thought about it." Does this track for you?
A lot of people who are going there, it attracts a lot of people who just shop there regularly, but there's so many out-of-towners that are there in the summer. Of course, they have no idea. They have nothing to compare it to.
They're just walking around.
They're just walking around. I don't understand the comparisons people are making. Well, this isn't Disneyland, which I think is an odd thing to say. It's like it's a sort of small street. I don't understand
We have
that
play
feeling.
streets all over the city now. Those stuck around.
And I love those. I have those in my neighborhood, the streets that have been shut down permanently for people to walk on. I love it. It's great.
And in Disneyland, people are not getting run over by cars that often. Maybe occasionally, but
you have not seen that Goofy car.
I suppose Goofy should get his license taken away.
Yeah, I think just because people can't drive down the street doesn't mean it's going to turn into like Leavenworth, like it's going to be not a livable, workable, real place. That
obviously that isn't true.
Yeah.
The owner of Rotary Grocery told the Times he usually doesn't like change, but he loves this one. The golden quote from him was, "People only, the people's market." What does Pike Place mean to you? Do you see it as the people's market or the tourists' market?
I think that it's both. I think it's one of the rare tourist attractions in the country that is actually something that you want to go to as a local. I mean, I'll go down there to go shopping sometime. It's funny. I always have this feeling that I want the people working at the shops to know that I live there. I don't want to be mistaken for a tourist.
Local here.
And I'll just kind of put, later on, I'm going to go to my yoga class. I'm like, what am I doing? Who cares? But yeah, I think it is a beautiful place and I love the history of it. And I would always fight to preserve it. And I think that, it's for both because tourists aren't always buying a lot of that food. Like, what are you going to do with it if you're on vacation? You can't really cook. And it's for people who live in the city to buy.
And it's a special place because, there are so many cities that have one nightmare location for tourists. It's like there's Times Square in Chicago. There's Navy Pier, which I used to work on. Horrible place to work. But Pike Place is lovely. And there's lots of good food. And there's lots of cool little shops all over the place. It's a great place.
Yeah, to me, this really represents old Seattle, but only if you get there before 10 a.m. Because after that, it's tourist town and it gets a little weird. But a really great walk through the market in the early morning is just an amazing time. It's one of my favorite times to be at the market. The Pike Place Preservation and Development Authority, which manages the market, says it's working closely with the mayor's office and Councilmember Bob Kettle's office to monitor how things are going. But as you mentioned, Vivian, kind of anecdata at this point. Official survey feedback seems elusive. They say it's positive. They're calling it a test and learn approach.
Well, everything's elusive when you don't do it.
All of this, of course, ahead of the FIFA World Cup. Before we move on, predictions. Will vehicles ever get full access to the market again?
No.
I think probably. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, we just... We got a real lame streak going on in this city, and
Wow.
I think that would be pretty lame, and it just seems appropriate.
That's true.
I don't think that's a good thing, but I just think it's possible.
We do have a hard time making big decisions and sticking with them. But since this, quote, pilot program has gone on for so long, it feels like maybe it will just turn into a permanent thing, like those safe streets in the neighborhoods that were just supposed to be there during the pandemic.
It's the passive-aggressive approach to management.
And here's the thing. I think I've probably said this on the show before in regards to another issue, but humans get used to everything. Like, we will adjust if they take the cars away. People are going to be upset for a while, and then it will be as if it was always that way, and people won't talk about it anymore.
All right. We'll see how we do when the rains return. Moving on to our next topic. A new study from Microsoft says AI may be coming for your job, but if you went to trade school, you're probably safe. Microsoft put together a study using 200,000 conversations with Bing Copilot users. Now, this is surprising to me because I didn't know that 200,000 people were actually using Bing Copilot, but that's an aside.
Bing in the first place.
Yeah,
in general.
I use Ask Jeeves personally.
Is Ask Jeeves sentient now?
Oh, man. GeekWire dug into the study. Here's the big takeaway. If you do so-called knowledge work, your job could look very different in the future. Manual laborers apparently will be A-OK. The top impacted job is interpreters and translators. Also in the top 25, broadcast announcers, radio DJs, editors, and journalists. I feel slightly attacked here. How is this sitting with you two? How do you feel about the future of AI, Rachel?
Well, I just try to avoid a lot of this technology. Personally, I'm such a Luddite, and that's probably not in my best interest. I should, keep the enemy close. The fact that they're saying that journalists are going to lose their jobs, that's interesting to me because for as little as I know about AI, it's mostly a collection of what's already online, right? And they take all of that and give you new information. So who's going to be feeding that if there's no journalists? Who's going to be going to press conferences and interviewing people and doing in-depth reporting? Don't you have to keep creating the news for the AI to steal it, especially if it's journalism that you're looking at breaking news and things happening every day?
You're already seeing AI cannibalize itself to an extent, which is very bad because you sort of have hallucination upon hallucination.
Say more. Describe what you're talking about.
Well,
Viv.
I don't think that AI can actually replace the work that journalists do, but I even think if you look at the very top of that list with interpreters and translators, it takes a lot of skill. That's why, it doesn't just take somebody who's fluent in a language to translate a book or a passage or something like that. It's a bit of an art. Journalism frequently is not just coming from publicly easily available information. It is compiled. You have to make calls on what is and what is not in stories. You need to have difficult conversations with people who don't want to talk to you. So that cannot be replaced. It can be simulated in a way that is more like content, than journalism. And also, AI, we talk about the actual replacement of the job. Part of the real problem is that the AI summaries at the top of Google, for example, they're stealing web traffic.
Yes.
And this is not just a problem for journalists. It's a problem for basically everyone that has any sort of online-based information business.
I don't think anyone on this panel went to trade school, but which one of these least impacted jobs do you think you'd be good at?
I've always wanted to do landscaping because I like to be outside and I like to garden. So I've always thought that could be my backup. And I loved, this was in my 20s, so I don't know if it would be the same. I loved being a barista. I just like those mini conversations with people, these little micro conversations, and not looking at a computer all day is a dream. I would love that too. But I guess it's more of like a salary situation where it's like, I would probably do those as my job if I could make as much money as I did sitting behind a computer.
Well, part of the thing, in our society, a lot of jobs are overvalued and a lot of labor is undervalued. There's this term that gets thrown around, unskilled labor, which is ridiculous term. Like I worked in restaurants for several years, and like all labor that requires you to be there and use your hands, really hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Extremely hard work. And you get a lot of crap from people who think they're better than you because they're on the other side of the counter, which is so true of all these jobs that are likely to survive. And I think the thing that's a bit concerning is that one of the common things between those jobs is that they're all undervalued.
Also, incredibly physically demanding jobs, which I noticed, which can't be kind on the body. I don't know too many roofers with good knees. There used to be a saying that came from the tech world, learn to code, a glib way of telling people that they should learn a practical skill instead of relying on creative jobs. But now AI is coming for coding as well. A degree does not make you safe from AI. If you could go back in time and warn yourself about the shifts in AI, do you think you'd pick a different job?
No, because I've made it this far. I'm 45. I've been doing my work for over 20 years, and I don't think I would have planned to do something different so that in 25 years I might not be able to do it anymore. I just think you roll with the punches, and we just have to see what happens. We don't know. Part of the problem is that this technology comes fast, and it just keeps moving, and we don't have a chance to catch up with any kind of, legislation or rules or even just thinking critically about it. And so, we just don't know what's going to happen.
I tried to leave journalism. I can't.
I wouldn't change my path. And I came into the industry at a time where it was extremely troubled as well. It's just another trouble and struggle for an industry that has had a lot of problems.
All right, fight to the very end. There are definitely people who talk about extreme scenarios and hallucinations with AI. The capabilities are still kind of amazing and a little scary to me. And it's going to make us dumb as
That is exactly...
It's going to make us dumb.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. If AI was available when I was in high school, I would cheat. I already was cheating with like a little piece of paper under my leg to write down, terms for my classes. I would use it. Because when I was that age, I didn't care about learning. I cared about graduating. I would grow up to be real dumb.
All right, moving on to our next topic. We would be remiss if we went to the end of the week without talking about this week's primary election. Progressive challengers have taken the leads in most of these races, but every incumbent in Seattle is set to appear on the general election ballot in November. There's plenty of results analysis out there, but the figure we're looking at is voter turnout, which once again was pretty low. As of Thursday, King County is predicting a voter turnout of 33%. For context, that's about 7% lower than last year's August primaries and, of course, much lower than the November general election. Is it just impossible to get people excited about primary elections or small civic elections or odd-year voting, or what are we dealing with here?
This depresses me so much because we're talking about King County, not the entire state, which means it's a blue zone. And so most people living here are probably very unhappy with how the presidential election went. Wouldn't you just run to your mailbox to vote anytime you could to try to have a say and control your local government? Local government leads to national government. These people get in office and they can move up and up and up. It's important to make these decisions locally. And even some of my friends who, seem mildly politically involved have told me they just throw it in the recycling bin.
That's wild.
Voter turnout has always been a bit of a mystery for campaigns, right? What is missing? If you had to point to something that might be missing that is inhibiting voter engagement, what do you think it is?
I think it's just general distraction. in life, because the way that we live now, you can avoid things. Like when we were kids, you would watch TV and everyone's watching the same channels. You would listen to the radio, everyone's listening. So you could get these messages, you could get messages easily. Now people can choose to engage in whatever media they want. I think that you can just close yourself off much easier and not even know there's an election.
Special elections are certainly a way to undermine voter turnout.
Same way.
And these odd year elections, they just don't have the same kind of turnout because, people get really drummed up about national elections. They get drummed up about whether there's going to be a red wave or a blue wave or Congress is going to change. And this is just the most beat to death point in the world. But people don't understand that less powerful local electeds have so much more influence over how their day-to-day life is going to function. And I think that's just something that people genuinely don't understand because it just seems unimportant.
Right.
And maybe they don't read about it, but also it just seems unimportant to them. And it really, really isn't. And as much as I want to tell people to just do it, life is complicated.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole life revolves around knowing about what's going on around here. And that is not true of everybody. And there are many, many intelligent people who care in this city who just do not have the time or the energy to read about these things. And, even though mail-in voting is pretty easy, sometimes life gets really complicated and you can't just dip out to go drop your ballot off. It's
what do you
just
think
not
about
that easy.
having this come up at work? Can your employer get involved with politics? What if an employer said, okay, today is voting day, everybody bring in your ballot, and then you can
or take the day off and vote.
Day, it would be wonderful if election days were local and national holidays.
That would draw attention to elections in a new way, right? King County's held 13 elections since November 2022. Voter turnout, of course, is likely to be a disappointment to the candidates this time around, who have spent a lot of time spending money to get their names out there. Have you seen the mailers? This time around, the mailers were massive.
Oh, talk about just putting something straight in the recycling bin.
Holy moly.
I stand at my mailbox, which is literally next to my recycling bin, and I don't even read them. I just go boop, boop, boop. And it really bothers me because it's such a waste.
Are they
of
recyclable,
paper.
Because because they're shiny paper?
That's a good point.
I don't think
know.
they're recyclable.
But I guess after what I just said of people closing themselves off and being disengaged, that's one way to reach people no matter what. But, maybe, I don't know if anyone's reading them.
I don't know if people pay attention to political advertising. To me, Gurmai Zahalai, who's running for county executive, won the name recognition game with the My Guy Gurmai ad. There should be more rhyming in politics, you too. I felt like that one really rose to the top. All right, one last thing before we go. 5 Seattle area Panda Express stores are now serving Dynamite sweet and sour chicken. The Dynamite comes from South Korea's top-selling bulldog sauce, which is super hot, apparently. Rachel, have you had this? What about you, Viv?
I haven't. I feel shame. It's a hole in my culinary knowledge. But I think that this is very interesting because I kind of watch trends like this. It's interesting to see when foods make it to the mainstream. Like you're talking about Panda Express. This is like
the McDonald's
suburbs
of Asian
food. This is the mall. These aren't people who are looking at the hot new item in food, and it's made it there. And that says a lot about our culture. I think it says a lot about immigration patterns. There was a time, maybe it was Jack in the Box, I passed on the road a sign, they were putting sriracha a few years ago on food, and it's like, okay, sriracha's made it through. They have, I don't know if they still do, but at least a few months ago, there's a pasta with chili crisp in it at the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh,
I was impressed that chili crisp made it to the Cheesecake Factory. I think it's very interesting. It says a lot, these are places where people go who generally like meat and potatoes.
That's true. Habanero used to be kind of like a special item. Now it's so standard. You can see it. It's everywhere. It's almost tiring, how much habanero stuff there is now. And even before that, I feel restaurants that didn't typically have jalapenos were oh, we've got jalapenos today. And now that feels totally standard.
You see hot honey everywhere now.
I know.
Everywhere.
Is this because of Hot Ones? That Hot one? I wonder
I'm not sure.
I wonder if it's because of TikTok, because there's so much recipe sharing on there.
Oh, yeah.
At least for me. But
sure.
Maybe that's just because I like to cook. But I think there's probably demographic reasons in so many
Spice
things.
feels like an extreme sport to some people, too. The one chip challenge, the whole how hot can we do it?
It's very male.
A
A
bit.
little aggressive. Little aggressive.
I like spicy food too, but I want to taste my food. I'm not there to like blow out my taste buds so I can't taste the next bite. And I'm not in competition with anybody. I just want to enjoy my meal and have a little bit of spice. And it's interesting because the reason that chilies exist, it's a defense mechanism for these plants to keep, certain animals from eating them. And we're like, we don't care. We're going to eat it anyway.
I think like intense spice, it can be so multi-dimensional, and like each different kind of pepper will have a different physical effect and land differently on the tongue. There's like the numbing spices and the
wasabi
spices
up your nose.
Yeah. I've actually never found wasabi very hot. I can totally just eat it.
It's
just,
different.
It does not bother me.
It's different. Yeah. My friend Becky Selengut, who's local here, she's a private chef and cookbook author. She wrote a book called How to Taste. And she told me, it's written in the book, that the reason that your nose burns from wasabi and then you feel it in your throat or your tongue is the weight of the molecules in that item. So it's like wasabi floats up, apparently, into your nose.
Well, there you go. You learn something new every day, Rachel. And we are going to leave it there. Vivian McCall is the Stranger's news editor, and Rachel Belle hosts The Nosh and Your Last Meal for Cascade PBS. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Vivian.
Thank you.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now. Today's episode was produced by Vaughn Jones. It was edited by Andy Hurst. Our production team also includes Caroline Chamberlain Gomez, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. See you soon.